Hello and welcome to Raising Anchor, your podcast and source for all things Rhode Island FC. I'm your host, Matt Intrican, coming to you on Thursday, August 21st. RIFC is semifinals bound after beating Birmingham Legion midweek on a cold and rainy night 1-0. Next up, the third round of El Clamico this weekend as the Amber and Blue travel to Trinity Health Stadium to take on Hartford Athletic. Joining me, as always, you know him, you love him. It's the one and only co-host, Mr. Jason Carey. Jason, how is it going, my friend?
I'm doing fantastic. I love the dichotomy in our vibes here. I'm still holding on to summer with my Hawaiian shirt, and you're embracing the false fall that we're getting right now with a little bit of with your hoodie there.
You live in a climate-controlled space where you can perfectly control it. I live in the elements, okay? I leave all the windows open. There's a nice chill breeze out there, and so I'm just living it up. I know that we're due for a spike in heat again, probably around, Halloween. It's either 90 degrees or it's a blizzard, so, just take your pick.
No in between.
I think it's my turn this week to do the RIP. Normally, I'm sure you could pull one, from nowhere and just talk about people that have passed on.
I put that in my back pocket because I was trying to not bring the vibes down all the time.
This one's not bringing the vibes down, Jason. This one may require a national holiday being needed, and not just because you could say it's a state holiday, but this needs to be national. That's because, unfortunately, the Honorable Judge Frank Caprio, now no longer with us, one of the staples of the Rhode Island community in terms of just like holistic messaging. He was like a bench judge for like 40 years and one of my favorite people in this entire place. I got to meet him one time. He could have cared less if it was, he loves everyone, like in the same sense, not like in a bad way. I actually know someone that knows him because when you're in Rhode Island, you know everybody through extension. So really unfortunate news there, but wish the family the best. And, we'll have to see who takes up the role of probably one of the most charitable and kind people in Rhode Island. It's certainly not going to be us, or at least me.
Yeah, it was nice to read a lot of the great stories people were kind of bringing out about 30 years ago, he helped me out with a ticket that, he's just like, learn better, kind of, you'll figure it out, that kind of stuff. There's some other holiday this month that people don't care for.
We don't talk about that anymore.
Should we just replace those?
I'm down. I'm down to swap them. Yeah,
swap them.
Get a good old I guess to be FC day instead. I'm completely down for the cause. I do like though that when people talk about him most often, like you just shared the story, it's always like, oh, I didn't have to pay that ticket or he let me go. It's kind of interesting when you talk about a judge just being kind and like fair to like the human point. It's what makes them stand out versus, oh yeah, no, here's the letter of the law versus the spirit, so you're guilty, pay $5,000 or do not collect, go. It's I know I said that in a funny way, but like it's really unfortunate that that's where we're at as a society. However, hashtag not a judicial podcast. Let's move on to the news because we have a very long show ahead of us tonight, as always.
Yeah, that's what we always do here. Hey, so remember how we're practicing to run?
I mean, I know that. I don't know if everyone else knows that, but now they do.
So we're already signed up for. We're not signed up, but we're going to do it anyway. 5K, but let's just do another one. It was announced that last week that the Rhode Island Family Turkey Trot 5K will be held at Centerville Bank Stadium on Thanksgiving Day morning, November 27th, 2025 at 10 a.m. You ready for this cranberry jelly?
Love the tie in there. Listen, we're doing this. We're doing the earlier run in October. Someone's also trying to get us to do the 5K across the Pell Bridge. So brace yourselves, everyone. Jason and I, we're taking this.
We're running from our problems.
Tour. Exactly. So I'm down. We committed, and like the thing is, we have a very large financial bet against each other. We're betting in ourselves that we can do this in about 8 weeks' time. We're on an app. We're doing the things. I have to run after tonight's show because I couldn't get it in this morning. So that's probably why I'm just ready to go immediately after. So yeah, if you're interested in running in this, we're trying to get a big Rhode Island FC contingent wearing the kits, whatever like gear you want. Of course, there is a link in the Discord. There's a couple of different teams, I think, getting created. I don't think we'll create a different team. I think we'll just join in, looking for maybe a way to like build like an internal charity within it to like donate for a good cause. So if you're interested, reach out to us in DMs or whatnot, or just find us on the Discord, and excited to do that. But yeah, I'm all in. And if not, I'm going to pay you a lot of money. So I just don't want to do that.
I have the benefit of,
being not as big as me.
Yeah. Well, no, I was going to say, like, I've been biking for the last few months. It's not the same thing. Running sucks. And I'm convinced that no one actually likes running. They just do it for the benefit. And like when you get good at it, it's fine. But the initial part, it's just like every part of my body hurts.
I mean, every single day I'm in pain, but it's a good pain, I guess. All right, let's get into this recap. Let's start the magic of this Jägermeister Cup. Fun match, despite the cold, the rain, lots of different conversations. We tried a new format on interviewing people, trying to get some live reactions, trying to set up a new set of content there. So that'll come out a little bit later this weekend. But I have to first tip my hat to those that showed up in attendance. You're the real sickos. Anyone that wasn't there, maybe you're just a filthy casual at this point, and right to call it out. I enjoy just the camaraderie. Lots of people that haven't experienced the supporters group this season so far because they're up in like 205. They're in the VIP sections, coming out and having a blast in the rain. And then also several people going in and trying the discounted VIP section of like the unlimited eats and drinks. And so that was fun to hear. So all in all, I think the people that did show up, obviously the smallest crowd I think we've ever seen in Rhode Island FC's history, even less so than like the Open Cup because that was the Revs. That's the reality of, and we put a post out, it's trending pretty well, where when you have to schedule a midweek match with less than 30 days notice, and it's also then a cold, rainy night, and there's no incentives other than like some cheap beer, it's a proving ground about where soccer is, but also where it can go.
Yeah, and absolutely. I think, to be fair, I know we're joking about calling some of the people filthy casuals, but like even for this next round, like I will do everything in my power, but like I might be like 20 minutes late to it because I all of a sudden have to change my work schedule like on a drop of a dime. So I will be there, but like I might be, I might show up. I roll up a few minutes late. So, but yeah, it would have been great. Imagine if we had a packed house to celebrate that win with everybody. I'm hoping this next time around, the weather's maybe a little bit better and people realize like, oh, this is the semifinals. If we win this, we make it to a championship. So maybe there'll be a little more gravitas to this and we can kind of get more people behind it.
Or it was strategic. Like Taylor said on last week's show, he said that the Legion show up for rowdy crowds. Didn't have an entirely we certainly had rowdy elements.
They listened to us when we said don't show up.
Yeah, maybe that was all part of the strategy. But let's get into this recap here. Like I said, RIFC best Birmingham Legion 1-0, thanks to the lone goal from second half substitute Dwayne Atkinson, who scores his first ever Rhode Island FC goal in his second appearance with the club. Fun fact about Dwayne Atkinson, he does prefer to go by the name Busy. We confirmed that last night. It wasn't in the post-game interview that you'll hear in a little bit. But yeah, so he does like to go by Busy. And Jason, listen, I'm going to take a clean sheet any day of the week, but I keep asking, have we turned the corner? Did we see that in this game, or was Birmingham just a side that might not have been set up themselves for the best success on the night?
I think that we're still trending in the right direction. I think we saw a very strong performance from our defense, and that continues to be the strength of this team. The problem still lies in the scoring, right? We looked like we were trying stuff in the first half, but like you mentioned, it kind of didn't feel like people were on the same page, right? People were playing balls into like open spaces where no one was making runs. Passes were kind of being misplaced here and there. And it just didn't feel like there was a cohesive like attack going forward. They can pass around, they can control the ball and dominate that possession and all that midfield. All that great
70% the first half, 62% overall in the game.
Yeah. But when it comes to the actual like generating the scoring chance, putting the ball in the back of the net, getting shots on target, things like that, it just seems to be some sort of spark missing. I don't exactly know what it is. Maybe it's Busy. He is, as his nickname goes, Busy. He is a pest, right? He is trying to go forward. He's not worried about losing the ball. Something that we saw Joe Jaya last year be very good at, right? He had like highest amount of dribbles in the team and like all these stats, but he also gave the ball away more than anyone else on the team. So sometimes I think they need to be a little more brave, play without fear, and say, you know what? I might lose the ball, but I'm going to trust the guys behind me to clean it up because I'm trying to bring this team forward.
If you had to kind of break it down, who do you think were the most fearless players on the night? Because I've got three in my head that kind of stood out above the rest of the pack.
I would say Ugo.
Definitely.
I mean, he
In fact,
doesn't play like a center back.
I'll just jump to it. This is a slide I had prepped for later. This is Ugo Bacharak's heat map of the night compared to the smaller screen there, which is the entirety of Rhode Island FC. But that bigger one is all of his coverage. He wasn't playing as a right wing back or a right back. He was playing as a right center back. And you look at that much ball advancement. His hottest part on the map is in Birmingham's half. Like that's a player that wanted to move forward, and he was all over the place. He was covering both on the defensive side of his duties as well as the offensive. I think that guy was playing harder than just about any other player. If this had ended as a 0-0, in my opinion, Bacharak should have been the MVP of the match. Who are your other two players?
I would also then obviously go with Busy, right? Because that's who you talked about. From there, it's hard to say. I thought like Jojea had a better game than he has recently. Koke has been immense since he's come back.
I thought Matthew Corcoran might have actually been the third of that contingent. He had the most final third passes attempted. His accuracy not so great because he was trying to connect the midfield to the forward line. But again, sometimes, and I've heard this talk about Maxi, I've heard this conversation about Corcoran now. He's trying to do something so that when it doesn't come together and there's an interception or there's a turnover, you kind of get this like, oh, what are you doing? You got to hold up this ball. Like, we don't want to lose it. But I think that's also maybe kind of a result or a kind of side effect of us being so used to this rotational possession where we don't move the ball forward, that when Corcoran finally gets it and tries something, it's kind of like, okay, well, we built up all of this time with the ball at our feet and then didn't do anything with it because Corcoran gave it away. I think he's one of the few players on the back half of this formation that wants to look forward and try something. But I agree with you, like you're talking again about the passing into spaces that wasn't quite there. The wings both suffered from it. Lots of different plays where like we thought a player was making a run, it just didn't happen. The biggest example of the night for me was when Chico tried to do that little trickery where he stepped over the ball. Everyone thought he was going to collect it. He was hoping that it would continue on to JJ, but JJ had already gone off on a completely different trajectory. Obviously, both of their backs are to each other, so that kind of that requires like an 11th sense, not a sixth sense when it comes to how you play the game. But I think there is still a little bit of that crispiness lacking in the team.
Yeah, and then to be fair to Corcoran, I mean, it's his third game, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so he's still trying to figure out where players are. And, Kaylor just mentioned a few days ago about when you look at his stats, like he had very negative passing in terms of, it was like, was it negative 0.2 yards or something because he was being more safe. So the fact that he was trying something here more, I'm not going to hold that against him because, like I said, we are very solid at the back. We need to be a little more brave going forward. And if that means we have some little awkward plays here or there where we're giving the ball away, if those start to build into more promising attacks, guys start to learn the runs that, that the other guys are making so they can kind of connect these kind of, lines, maybe, just maybe, we can finally score some more goals.
So speaking of that, with Rhode Island FC now, they are on, you wouldn't believe this, Jason, but they're unbeaten in 7 straight home competitions at Centerville Bank Stadium. Despite the abundance of goals, I would say they are definitely starting to turn that corner, especially at home where we haven't seen it. And it doesn't feel like it, right? Because of so many 0-0 performances. Specific to Birmingham, also, we're unbeaten now across just the entirety of our time playing in the league. 4 wins and 1 draw across 5 beatings. Alabama is now the first side in Rhode Island FC's history to have ever been beaten in 4 matches across all competitions. So I'm never going to complain about seeing Ronaldo Demas fail and not score goals. And I'll take that any day of the week after what he did to us last season. I take that still very, very personally.
Yeah, RFC did a really good job about shutting him down yesterday. And I don't insinuate anything, but it did kind of look like that maybe he was... Did it feel like maybe he was trying to play for contact a lot of times, and then the ref was just not having it?
I absolutely. I think, and also with Chico on the pitch, we know that Chico's kind of an embellisher like that. There were several times where it was like, man, if Chico had just like kind of battled through it versus take the collapse. I think I saw Jojea a few times go over a little too easily. I don't know if it was enough about the ref, and they were both trying to play to like getting those calls. I think honestly the ref did pretty well on the night. The only call was the very first yellow against Corcoran, where he didn't want to go to the pocket, but head coach Mark Briggs was screaming out from the sideline. And like, you just saw that. I've never seen a ref get influenced that much, but like, he was ready to let the play go on. And then Briggs was just continuing to lay into it. So he's like, all right, well, I guess I'll just go give this guy a card now. And again, when you only have like 2,000 people in the stadium, we all lost our minds collectively at the same time, because it didn't feel like it was his decision. It very much felt like it was Briggs's.
Yeah, that one was kind of outside of that. I thought like he wasn't the greatest, but I wouldn't complain too much about it. It was just that one call that didn't sit right with me.
Absolutely. So now, in terms of the Jägermeister, Rhode Island FC do remain unbeaten in 5 games across the entirety of the competition, holding that 4-win, 1 draw, and 0 losses. Listen, the haters are going to hate, and I know we have now another home game. We're going to talk about that a little bit later on here. But these people that are saying now, I'm watching it in the woodworks, watching it on Reddit, saying, oh, we've had an easier path than most. I wouldn't call the Hearts of Pine an easy path.
Absolutely
I wouldn't call a hot Hartford Athletic, which we're going to get into, I wouldn't call the Pittsburgh Riverhounds an easy way to go through. And if you're gonna discount the Legion,
Westchester, but I think that they've also, like, to be fair to them, they've started to get a little bit better. We played them very early on in their season, and they weren't like clicking.
Sure, but also, to be fair, every one of the championship teams plays a USL 1 team, and outside of like the Velocity and Triumph and Naples, like, not a lot of these teams were making a big wave in this performance. So I don't know if I subscribe to that. I know Kano certainly was happy with his guys. So let's kind of go into how Coach Kano felt about the overall performance here on the night.
Good performance. I still think we could be a little bit more dangerous, but very, very solid defensively. And I think we're really good at this moment right now if we go up a goal. So to get the first goal was key.
Coach, your subs today made a huge difference. What did you see from those guys that you thought could make the difference in the game, that kind of needed somebody to do something?
To leave good players out of the match day roster entirely. So it's a deep team. So it's, no matter who starts, no matter who comes in. But yeah, they all impacted the game in a positive way. All 5 subs that came in.
Going into the half, 0-0, still very much on the defensive side of things. What did you have as the conversation in the locker room to kind of ignite this team in the second half?
We just needed to be more dangerous. We had plenty of the ball in the first half, but not enough shots, not enough actions in the box, not enough time getting in their box. So just
Kind of going off the lineup again, how did you manage knowing you have arguably more important game on Saturday, just a few days away? Did it change anything? Did you think about it?
no. We wanted to win the game. You win the game that's in front of you. You deal with Saturday. Saturday, pick up the pieces. Deal with Saturday. Saturday, pick up the pieces. I mean, that's subjective to think that it's a more important game. This game's just as important.
Curious question on the roster. Lee carried a majority of the Jägermeister Cup matches. Absent tonight with the captain, Koke Vegas, back in net. Were there some decisions based on the strategy and the tactics set up as to why Koke got the nod?
Nope. Just trying to put.
Were there some decisions based on the strategy and the tactics set up as to why Koke got the nod?
Nope. Just trying to put the best team on the field to win the game.
Coach, what does Dwayne give you? I mean, on that goal, it was all his effort. I mean, what did you see from him on that play? And what has he given you so far since he's been here?
What do you think he gave? Well, what do you think? What do you think he brings?
I think he brings hustle and hard work, what you need in those situations. That's what I'm asking you.
Yeah, I mean, it's clear to see what he brings for me. It's he works. He's lively. He's a nuisance. He's a pest. He's nuisance. He's a pest. He's intelligent too. He certainly has, and he knows that he has things to grow and develop and get better at. But his attitude is fantastic. His teammates love him, so he's been a really good addition to the team. But I think he can. There's so much more he can get better at. So that's up to him. That's a lot of the questions and the discussions that him and I have is how good does he want to be? Because he can be really good.
What's that next step in his development? What do you want to see from him on this game?
Games, pretty impactful, but a lot of development will take place in practice. And we had to discuss with how deep we are. Nobody should assume that they're going to start. No one should assume that they're going to be in the match day roster. You score a game-winning goal, obviously you're going to be in the match day squad, but you have to practice well too.
Coach, do you take these games with only 2 left before winning it all potentially? Do you treat these as a playoff mentality while they're in between regular season games?
My mindset going into every single game that we play is I want to win the game. That's it. Today was no different. I don't go into any game thinking, let's get a draw, maybe we can lose. It's a playoff game, non-playoff game. Like, I want to win every single game that we play in. That's my strategy.
Coach, you brought Zach in to play a deeper role, and he obviously created that goal. How valuable is someone who can do all the things that he can do out there for you, play so many different positions, and be willing to do it?
Yeah, Zach's just intelligent footballer. He brings calm to the team. He's very good in possession, and I think he quite enjoys playing back there a lot too, because he can see his skill sets really are highlighted back there, because he can play forward and he can dribble forward, and he's pretty press resistant. He doesn't mind attackers coming at him and press him. Like, he doesn't get scared in that moment. So he's fairly comfortable back there, but good players can play anywhere, and Zach's a good player. So I could put him up front, and I think he would do exactly the same.
Final game of the rivalry this weekend against Hartford. How are you getting ready for that game? How are you setting the tempo going into this weekend?
First, they got to rest and recover, because they put in a good performance against a good team. So we got to see where everybody's at. But most importantly, they got to rest and recover and do their best to make sure that it's a tough turnaround, but they have a tougher turnaround because they're traveling and they're playing later. So we just got to get them as fresh as possible. And like every game we go into, we're looking to win the game.
That's Coach Cano Smith. I'm working on my questions with him, Jason. I was trying to get to the idea of how do you temper the expectations of, having a longer runway in the regular season, still plenty of room for playoff matches. Obviously every team wants to win, but I have Cano on the record and other times saying we're not going to win every game, right? Like, so it's more of a, like, how do you set that, where all of a sudden everything comes down to line, the extra pressure added and all that. So I still got to continue to work on my interview questions.
It's hard. It's difficult with him. There are times when I've seen other people ask nothing burger questions, and he'll just go on long, just extended answers, give you all this different information that you didn't even ask for, but give a real insight to the team and tactics and what they're thinking. Other times you think like you've figured it out, and you kind of ask like, hey, I noticed that X, Y, and Z.
What did you notice, Jason?
And then he'll do the same thing he did to the other guys. Well, what do you think about him? And just throw it back at you. So
I think the best question for Coach Cano moving forward is, what did you like about the game today? What did you not like about the game? And then just let him wax on there for sure. Overall thoughts on his comments about it? Anything? I do want to touch on the Jackson Lee stuff in a little bit, so let's hold off on that. But any other kind of thoughts overall?
I mean, in one way, I get it. He's not wrong. You obviously want to go and win every game, but at the same time, I don't know if I'm 100% of the mind that like you said, that there are certain maybe expectations and things that you have to manage with the players, right? In regards to how do they view this rivalry game coming up, right? They're probably going to be a little more hyped for it, especially after those last 2 matches against Hartford were some kind of rough matches. Now that RIFCs maybe find themselves a little bit of form, and Hartford's kind of on fire right now. I think they're going to be looking to prove themselves. So
Agreed.
How do you kind of manage that? Don't let their heads get out of you know what I mean? I feel like you do have to maybe change somewhat in regards to how you don't just go out there and do what you do.
Or do you?
I mean, maybe, but is that cooler heads will prevail? in the sense of against a heated rivalry, right? We don't need people getting sent off, especially with a Charleston Battery just around the corner. I mean, that's another tough match right there.
Right. Well, then let's get into the way Coach Kano did prepare for this game. Surprisingly pretty stable considering week over week transition with an 11-day break in between. So how did Kano set up his squad?
Yeah, so interestingly, we had Koke Vegas in net. We thought that Lee, as the cup keeper, was going to stick, but Kano decided to go with that. That back line there, Ame Mabika, Karifa Yao in the center as always, and Ugo Bacharach. We had Aldair Sanchez out left, Mark Ibarra, and Matthew Cochran in the middle there, with Amos Shapiro Thompson out right. Jojea Quizera on the left of a front three, with Chico up top in the middle, and then Maxi Rodriguez out on the right there.
So, I mean, let's address the immediacy here of this one. Curious to see Williams start the game on the bench. What do you think were the reasons behind it? We didn't get a chance to ask him. After I asked about Lee, I didn't think it was worth it. But, we were trying to deliberate, was it managing the minutes between this match and then the importance of the rivalry? Was he setting it up from going into penalties? JJ obviously would be needed on the pitch. Or was this some sort of tactical, lineup that we didn't see against the defenders of Birmingham?
I think there's definitely some rotation. I also would wonder that maybe Chico has done well in this competition, right? So maybe he's kind of giving him that nod. I think, is he one of the top scorers, right, with 4 goals or something?
Across all competitions, or
no, specifically the Jägermeister Cup.
Yeah, he just has the 3.
He has 3 is the hat trick, but I'm pretty sure he's got one somewhere else. Maybe either
probably.
Yeah. So, anyways, he's done well in this competition. So reward him for his, continued efforts and say, hey, go out there and do what you can do. And probably realistically saving maybe JJ for the weekend, I'd imagine, to a certain extent. And then, like you said, if it was going to penalties, bring him in.
Thoughts on Rodriguez? First time we've seen him given a little bit more permission to play towards the front half of the pitch. From the Opta stats, he was all over the place, did really well, had the highest scoring results on the night. And when you look at all of the different metrics that he put up, did he do enough? I mean, we saw him in some of the key moments. I saw him running into a lot of spaces for the first time in a long time, trying to be available. Not a lot of passes to win his way. Like Rhode Island players forgot you could do that and actually move with the run of play. Overall thoughts on Maxi?
Yeah, Matt, we've been kind of experimenting with Maxi up front the last few weeks. I think he's kind of swapped back and forth between kind of being either on the left or the right there. And I don't know if that's where I guess he was always destined to be, right? He was kind of a false 9 for Detroit a lot last year. He's been putting up really good stats for us. I think you still look at it though and say, okay, cool, you're being a workhorse, but at the same time, I guess maybe this is just expectations that we have to alter now. I think we were still kind of maybe expecting some more goals and assists from him, something to pin to his name instead of vomiting a bunch of stats on there, because like you said, he was everywhere, and he's out there, he's hustling, he's working really hard, and he's clearly a good player. It's just it's kind of a weird fit.
It reminds me of the Mark Ibarra stats, right? He never gets his flowers unless it's off of a cross from a set piece or a corner kick, and yet he has some of the best defensive metrics in the team, especially in the midfield. I feel like Maxi's going to probably quietly go under the radar for the rest of the season, except for when he shows up in the big moments, like scoring penalties and
yeah.
Whatnot.
So yeah, that'll be interesting to see how that continues on. But yeah, I think maybe I would like to see some sort of connection with the attack better.
Yeah, I mean, the defense continues to play lights out. They get their clean sheet. They're rewarded with donuts. Don't know which kind in a midweek donut break. But want to also kind of quickly just talk about Amos Shapiro Thompson, again, getting the start over Clay. It looks like Kano kind of sees those two as interchangeable utility players now for whatever he needs. They often don't see time on the pitch together very much. If one's on, one's not. Doesn't matter here whether it was right to play Amos or Clay, both of them outstanding players. overall, do we see, like, will Clay and Amos never see grass together at the same time ever again?
I don't know. This is an odd one. Still kind of scratching my head at this. I guess at this point they are right midfielders, right wing backs, whatever you want to call in this 3-4-3. It's weird. Like, Holstad in no way, shape, or form has had a bad season, but also with the position that he's playing, like, what impact has he been having on the team? Like, it just feels like he's a role player this year, as opposed to last year. He was an integral part of that midfield. And I just don't, it's weird because I think a lot of us look at him as he was a player who could make that next step. And I just don't feel like he's doing that right now. And I don't think that's because it's his fault, but like, there's only so much he can do as a right midfielder.
Agreed. And then, of course, the two changes from last week's match, Jojea Quezera in for Noah Fuson and Chico in for JJ Williams. Had some conversations over the last couple of weeks. Tommy Quinlan, Kaylor Hodges have all said that we need to get Williams and Chico out there, similar to the AST Holstead conversation. Do we anticipate with the structure of this roster that we'll actually ever see them take the pitch at the same time? I historically, and I did not have the time to flip the stats and go back through it in time for this episode, but I remember historically that they've only combined for like 4 goal contributions together, or sorry, 4 goal contributions while on the pitch together. And I think they only have 1 link up in the entirety of the minutes that they've played together on this team.
Yeah, producer Torn did some research for us a while back, and I remember it turns out that they're not actually that good together. Maybe part of it is the fact that, unfortunately, JJ's had some long-term injuries, and maybe they just haven't been able to work that chemistry. I mean, even Chico last year suffered a few setbacks. I mean, this year we've only missed him, 1 or 2 games, if anything.
Don't jinx it.
So in that regards, maybe they just need some more time. But at that point, we're not really playing a 2-striker system. Chico can actually create pretty well on the right wing. But at the same time, the problem is he's not a right winger. So positionally, when we play him out there, the problem is he then always continues to start to drift back. Like, his only effective in the right winger if he only had to play in the final third. The problem is as soon as you get back to the middle of the park and defending your own third, he just drifts in. He can't help but become a striker. And then you go back and look at our average positions, and we're super lopsided in that regards.
Yeah, we're not stretching that other side. Interestingly enough, the 0.85 XG that Rhode Island created, by the way, found out from the Birmingham side, their 0.22 XG was the worst they've had all season. So not a way to show up when it's elimination soccer. But, I will say, despite the fact that Busy's goal is the thing we're going to talk about here probably at length, Chico still did some things on the night. He had a very good look. If he had just maybe lifted that ball a little bit more into the air after that good kind of combination, he could have been on the score sheet. I thought Bacharach also, he was trying everything he could. He wanted to get on the score sheet. I don't think I've seen a ball headed as violently as what Bacharach put on the end of it, opposite of the Defiance 1636. I think that it's getting there, but also then I'm reminded of the Jojea shot where we've basically torn apart the Legion defense. The ball just kind of floats back over to Quezera. He's inside the top of the 18, and rather than take the shot or redirect it back the other direction while the entire defensive line is off kilter, he takes his time to collect it, move it to his other foot. Everyone gets on him, and then he just shoots something that's completely off target. Like, take the step in, move the ball more, or shoot it first time. But, again, I just want to see things be a little bit quicker, a little bit crispier. So I think we're getting closer and closer. I think Busy showed us what you can do with one-touch football, get around your defenders, and really stick it to your opponent. But I just don't know if the rest of the team's just there just yet. I do want to put this up on the screen, though, for us, Jason. And this is, of course, the percentages broken down by how the team attacked in both the first half and the second half. It's a story as old as time. That left visual, 49.3% of the attack going through Jojea. The right side completely almost abandoned. The middle almost non-existent. But then you get into those changes, right? Busy comes on, Noah Fuson comes on, suddenly the attack shifts back to the right. Noah Fuson with Amos Shapiro-Thompson, who was on the right side, and then in addition, Clay, when he came on, suddenly the attack can switch to the other side. Obviously, no game is perfect. The matches are fluid, but it would be really great if we didn't get so predictable about stacking where our talent goes. I'd love to see, if we're going to abandon the midfield, fine, but I'd love to see more on both sides than just the predictability of a stronger side each time, because I feel like defenses are starting to figure us out. We've abandoned the midfield. I know you've got a meta project you're working on to understand if this is like future tactics. We'll talk about on another show, but overall thoughts, like, does this help break up the predictability?
I mean, yeah, you look at that second graph there, it's a little bit more balanced. I mean, even the middle is a few, just not a ton, but a couple of percent more. So you like to see that. And yeah, like if we're just going to pretend the midfield doesn't exist, fair enough. But you'd want to see a little more balance on those wings there. Because that first graph is just like, well,
50% down the left channel.
Just defend that side, and like they can't do anything.
Which ironically turned both sides. So he was put to task.
He was great last night. He was shutting down. He was shutting us down constantly. It was like, oh man, Turney, come back, please.
Turney, come back. No, so I completely agree there. Want to get into a few more of these player positions. Want to ask you, Zach Haribo obviously sets up the assist here, but is Haribo, for all intent and purpose, our new supporting cast member on the back line with no Stoneman and no Darce? Is he now in contention to be a starting center back for us, or that rotational piece? Obviously, it's great where if you need to pull Corcoran because he's on yellow, he's on discipline, or you got the midfield support in the CDM, or you can pull a defender if you got to rest some tired legs. Do we see Haribo as a permanent answer to the center backs?
I mean, it's crazy with how many center backs we have, but also we have a lot of midfielders. I mean, you can't really deny his impact. I mean, he came on a second half substitute and he assisted the goal with a long up ball at the back. Second assist of the Jägermeister Cup for him. The one thing I will say that I do like about him playing in the back, that he has very good vision. I mean, obviously you can see with the assist there, he's very comfortable to just dribble the ball upfield, get himself into some good positions. Even the same like we saw with Ugo, like in the opposition half, you see similar things with Zach, right? He is very comfortable stepping to the ball. He has a good passing range. He's tall, so he's got that vision. It's just it's still mind-boggling, like all the flexibility that we have. And we kind of asked Kaler about this, and to a certain extent it does make sense with the teams, the budgets you have. You want that flexibility to be able to have guys who can come in, especially when you lose people to injury or mid-season transfers when people come knocking with money. But I almost wonder, like, are we too flexible? Like, is there a limit where you need to set some hard lines in terms of it's great that you can help out and play here, and I'm going to call you when I need you, but also I now have 7 center backs and 12 midfielders. Could I just play them in their appropriate positions?
Kano saying no one has a guaranteed spot.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, we're doing better, so I can't. Right, we're trending in the right direction. So it's hard for me to complain too much, as long as the results continue.
Agreed. Here's Haribo in his own words after he set up that second assist of his Jägermeister Cup performances this season and his third goal contribution of 2025.
So when you get put in the game as a defender now, how does that kind of change your approach or change your mindset, or does it not change anything for you at all?
It doesn't really change too much. I just know I have to go out there and do whatever the team needs me to do. I'm flexible. I can play multiple positions, and I'm just glad that the Kano and the rest of the staff and the team trust me to do the job at any position I'm asked to go into.
Did you guys see anything before you went out there? You scored within minutes after entering the pitch.
Yeah, we talked about it all week to test defenders in behind more. We have guys that are willing runners, and we just have to do the running to get in behind. And with a team like Birmingham that was trying to press us, immediately. I think there's a lot of space to exploit behind, and Dwayne did that incredibly, and he created that opportunity himself.
What has he brought to you guys?
About making mistakes, he'll try over and over again, and I think that's something that we lack within the group at times, and he brings that spark for us. So you can see a lot of confidence coming out of him.
Zach, you're going into the half 0-0, something that this club has seen a lot this season. But you guys have also had Birmingham's number a majority of times throughout the career head-to-head. What was it? I know you weren't in the locker room at that time, but what was the overall strategy if you went into that 0-0 situation at halftime? Was it more just holding down that defensive work, or was it going to be something where you had to commit numbers for it, since this was an elimination match and a draw wasn't going to carry the day?
No, we didn't really want to go to penalties. We're playing at home. We want to bring the game to them, and I think the plan was never to go in 0-0 either. We wanted to be up the entire game if we could, and the message was to be aggressive and not to let it go to penalty shootouts. We just wanted to we wanted to advance in the regular time, and I'm just glad we were able to do that.
What can this do for you guys? You guys have performed really well in the cup, and you go back in the league play and it's kind of up and down. How can you build on this?
The cup changes a lot of things. I mean, being able to compete for a trophy at this stage of the season is very, very important, and I think the group's very excited to be able to advance, but we understand that we need to improve in the regular season, and hopefully momentum like this and the energy within the group can push us for Saturday and just take it game by game, and we know we need to grab points in the near future, so we're going to do our best to do that.
Zach, how important was the USLPA sanctioned mental break for you guys? It looks like that 11 days off really paid tonight for you guys, paid dividends on the pitch. Overall, how important was that break for you guys, and what was it for you, like personally, before you came back to Hartford Stadium?
It was good. It was good. I've been on teams where I'm not close to home, so I understand being able to go home in the middle of the season makes a world of differences. I'm lucky that I have my family 30 minutes down the road, so I know that the rest of the guys being able to see family or again to spend time with their girlfriend or wife and their family really just gives them a refreshment coming into the season. So I think that helped us a lot, and also it's important to get the mind rested so you come back rejuvenated and motivated to compete.
And then final question, going into another El Clamico last round, maybe of the Derby, maybe not, depending on how the randomization and the results of the rest of the Jägermeister Cup matches happen today. How are you guys going to use this to fuel going into the rivalry game, the final one potentially of the season?
Yeah, I think there was a lot of tension the last time we met them, and I know the boys are just excited to be able to compete against them, and they've been on a good stretch of games, and we know it's important to grab all 3 points anytime we play, especially Eastern Conference team, and especially heading towards closer to the playoffs. We just need to compete and try to win every single game we play. So that's all I have to say about that.
That's all I have to say about that. I always like when people kind of conclude with that statement. Speaking of mental health break, Joe Brito, by the way, proposing to his fiance over that family. I know they listen, so congratulations to you guys on that. So Joe, maybe he didn't get on the pitch last night, but man, he's making waves in other ways. So congrats there. Overall thoughts from anything stand out from Harrow's interview?
No, I mean that's just good mentality from a good player of ours. So maybe it would be a little better for further forward, but it is what it is.
So then let's talk about this. Jackson Lee doesn't get the start. We brought it up at the top of the hour. I was a bit surprised by this, Jason. I don't know how you felt, but I was really surprised in other teams, bigger leagues, where they give the reins to the certain group of individuals, and then if you get certainly far enough into the progression of a tournament, then the A team comes in. Understandable in some of the positions on the field, especially keeper perspective. Didn't really expect to see that. I tried to go back and pull the audio again, but just not enough time between game and podcast. I know, I want to say it like almost for the record, but I'm like very confident that we had conversations with Connor Smith, his look in the net because of the chances of that game, and I could have sworn I remember hearing Connor say, you know, the people I play for the cups for those matches, those are my guys. Like I'm going to give them the shots unless they do something terribly wrong. I don't remember Jackson Lee doing anything that would not suddenly earn him a continued spot on this historic cup run. So I got 3 hours on which keeper's better, what are their strengths, etc. I know Koke is the number one, but felt weird that Jackson didn't get the starting gig. Could have been his last time. We thought we talked about it last year, out, barring an injury. We thought the Jägermeister might be one of those, chances to showcase that. Suddenly he's not there. What were your thoughts?
I was definitely surprised. It's not normally you don't change your cup keeper unless they're like doing really bad. And I don't think Lee in any way, shape, or form was doing bad. Okay, came back. But at the same time, you want to give Lee his credit for getting them that far. So, I don't know. I mean, coaches, it's his team. He gets to make those decisions. So I think you generally want to stick with your cup. To kind of balance. Like Koke's only been back 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
That was his third game across 2 weeks. Yeah, and ironically, and full credit, like you can't hate on Kano for making these decisions because it's his third straight clean sheet since he's been back on the pitch. It's his 7th clean sheet of the season across all competitions, his 14th of his entire RIFC career. It's not like it doesn't work out. Everybody gets their donuts here. But like, what's the message to the locker room if it absolutely? I'm like 97% sure that he's somewhere on the record saying he's my cup keeper. But like, if that was said, and then suddenly we've switched, and it wasn't due unless he was injured, but he was on the bench.
I would think that probably Lee, unless Koke gets injured, Lee's probably played his last game for RIFC. I think
it's too good to be a second
for 2 reasons. He's too good to be a second. But also the team played with Koke come back. It's not just his leadership. I think when you play a certain style, like if we want to be a team that plays out the back, so as long as Kano's with us, that is continue to be a style. Our backup also needs to be. He is more of a shot stopper. He can play great long balls, but he's not the Pep Guardiola, Barcelona, that type of ticky-tack goalkeeper, which is perfectly fine. I mean, we saw, was it Van Okel? Does not like to pass out the back at all. So there are very much teams for those goalkeepers. If we are going to be a team that passes out the back and requires our goalkeeper to be that way, well, your backup goalkeeper should also probably play that way. So I think at the time when we signed both of them, maybe we didn't know what we were doing last year. Like
Jackson Lee is okay for the record, and he is not built like Jackson.
Yeah, Koke's about to turn 30 here in September. I think his birthday's coming up.
Right. So like we have to Jackson Lee carries himself at a level of a manner of professionalism that few men can aspire to become.
He lines up against us and it just gets a clinch.
I hope he does stay in the championship for at least one season as a starter. I would hate to see him go to an MLS side as like the third keeper and like we never saw. I want to see him play. Like I want to see him continue.
If the schedule continues like it did this year, where you miss him because of the Jaeger Cup, maybe not at all.
Maybe he goes to Colorado Springs. You know, he's from Utah, so maybe that works out. But listen, I hope it isn't the last we've seen of him, but it very well might be. And time will tell on that one. Want to kind of unpack Dwayne Atkinson, now the third player this season to score a goal as a substitute, Jason. He's the second fastest behind Maxi's substitution in, immediately going to the spot and taking the PK. You could argue he's at least the fastest for 2 appearances, both the substitute roles. Overall thoughts on the goal itself, and does this put a calling card out that he needs to at least get a look at potentially being a starter in the weeks to come?
Yeah. I think that clearly you can see that there's some issue. Like he's made an impact in 30 minutes of play, and for 30 minutes last week, was it? And we didn't get to see a lot of him because we were pinned back. But at that point, you could tell that something like he was going to bring something to us. And then within moments of him being brought on, you saw that change. And especially in the game last night, like we were on the front foot there in that second half, and we were taking it to Birmingham.
Okay, continue.
But yeah, like you could tell that he was going to bring a spark to this team, right? He is a pest. He is, like his nickname is, busy. He's constantly moving around. He's causing issues for the attacking team, and he's being brave and just taking the ball forward and causing issues. I mean, he even got a yellow card for just getting up in the opposition's face, making it difficult for them to take a quick free kick.
I hate that yellow card, by the way, because it's like you have to slow it down.
Yeah, no, I think it is like, hopefully for that's a learning opportunity, and say like, all right, you got in the way, you stopped a free kick, but then you can also kind of, all right, you get a warning from the ref, right? Then you kind of step back and say, okay, fine, fair enough. So
yeah, you hate to see it. So here's Busy in his own words, and granted, this audio is a little soft. And also, he speaks very fast, so brace yourselves, everyone. But here,
brush up on your Jamaican.
Yeah. So here is Busy's, I guess, kind of first conversations as a Rhode Island FC player.
The moment Zach played to you, what were you thinking when the defender got the ball?
Well, I was thinking that just try my best to just try outplay him, give him a nudge and try to win the ball and just try to finish.
Colin just called you in the nicest way a pest, a nuisance, all hustle. How much pride do you take in that side of the game?
Well, as you can see, it's a great thing for me because recently my teammate know me as busy, so always busy on the pitch, always busy, always moving around, always want the ball at my feet. So I have to always get busy, run behind defenders and try my best to just know that I could help the team win and do stuff.
How are you approaching this journey here with Rhode Island? What's your mindset going into this experience?
Well, as you can see, I'm trying to get much familiar with the guys. They always teach me a lot, on and off the field. So I'm kind of adapt everything that I need to do. And yeah, going forward, I will get better and better.
Dwayne, you were once labeled as fearless in your previous league. What makes it about your game? What makes you fearless?
As you know, my 1v1, going at defender, going at people, and use my speed, my skills, and those stuff. So that's the thing. I'm fearless, and some players do not like to face with me. And so yeah, so I have to do what I got to do, and I always go at people, no matter what.
And it's only a small number of minutes so far, but what's your overall opinion of the championship? How does it compare to the leagues you've been in before? And what have you liked, and what have you maybe been surprised about so far in this league?
Well, it's more competitive. As you can see, the ball move more fast. My previous league I played in Jamaica, yeah, it's a good league, because I've been there and done it before. But coming here, it's more faster than Jamaican football, so I have to add up a lot and try to move along and try to play fast as well.
Big rivalry game this week, coming into Saturday against Hartford Athletic. have the guys kind of let you in and filled you in on what that team is and what it means to the fans this weekend?
Well, as you can see, this is a boost for the guys. You know that a home win going into a rival game coming this Saturday. So it's a great boost for the guys and looking forward to get the 3 points.
So that is Busy. He's really funny. We talked after the match, after that interview, and asked him like, "What do you want to be called?" And he's like, "Oh, I don't care. You can call me anything." And it's like, "Well, no. Like, what do you want to go by?" So he does want to go by Busy. I listen, Jason. I'm going to tell you right now, whether that's the only goal we see from him ever again, or that's the first of 1,000 goals. Two things. I love his ferocity. Like, you can see as a smaller player, he has to work extra hard to, especially the physicality of the championship. So like, I love seeing the work rate, but more importantly, when he scored that goal, immediately went to kiss the badge, slap the badge. Like, I eat that up every single time, because players like that, like, they put in the team in front of themselves. And I don't know if you saw this, but when he got the man of the match paddle, everyone was super excited. His entire team was super excited for him. It's like he came into this squad and immediately, like, made an impact on the mental well-being as well as the physical style of play for this team. I think he's going to be a great contribution moving down the stretch, and who knows what happens after that. But like, in the first 60-ish minutes that he's played now across 2 matches, I'm sold. I'm a fan of Busy.
Absolutely. I think that he could be the spark that we need to really get the attack going forward. Not only was that did he take that goal well, like under pressure there, just slotted it in the bottom pass of an goal there. But you saw some like sparks in the midfield there too. He's very comfortable playing 1-2s off of people. And because he's got a speed that no one else on our team has, even if a ball isn't perfect, he can get to it. And from there, he's very comfortable laying it off to someone else. You can kind of do those 1-2s. Him and Jojea seem to kind of have some connection there that maybe we hadn't really seen from Jojea. He was getting into some good spots there at the end of the match. So it, kind of exciting to see what's going forward. Like I said, we're starting to see this team maybe build something. It's been a rough season, so I'm not going gonna say we're back, boys, let's go. But maybe. Just maybe.
All right, let's get into this final part here. Obviously, we are now semi-finals bound here with this win against Birmingham. That next match now against Sacramento Republic on Wednesday, September 10th. Most likely a 7 p.m. matchup again. I'm not gonna lie, I watched the highlights of Sacramento versus Loudoun. Sacramento didn't impress me in the sense of Loudoun kept them, there was chances, but Loudoun really stayed in it for the majority, losing in penalties. I know Sac is, I think, undefeated since June, basically when they saw us. But overall, I don't know that they are as terrible of a choice. Certainly Hartford, I think, it was. We'll talk about that in a second. They were definitely the hottest team. But between the three groups, is there a team that you would have wanted, and why is it Greenville Triumph?
So I was hoping for Greenville Triumph in the way that maybe they could host. It would be fun. And then also, I don't know if they're going to give us, if we can get past Sacramento Republic, wouldn't it be great to host the final at Centerville Bank Stadium? But are they going to allow us to host every single game? I don't know how that works in regards to.
So it'll be random again, but I do think everyone, including the league, is now talking about an El Clamico round 4 this season with hardware on the line. It's great from an optics perspective, but it's tiring if you're a fan of either one of these teams. That being said, if both teams do advance and the league gets what they want, the reality is most likely we will have to play on the road at Trinity Health Stadium, which would then perfectly balance out 2 games at Centerville Bank Stadium, 2 games at Trinity. If the Triumph somehow win, Rhode Island FC, I think, is a lock-on, because I was looking in the Discord. Triumph, they kind of rent their stadium out. There is a schedule conflict for that final. They're playing away that weekend, so I don't think they can get the facility, which would mean it kind of abdicates automatically to Centerville Bank Stadium. One, let's not pretend that we do good against USL1 teams in knockout games, because we have one win and we have one loss, all-time record in elimination soccer. But two, let's also not forget that if we were to win all of this, I don't know how you feel, but I feel like this would asterisk the cup for forever, that our run to redemption is built basically on a home field advantage, despite the fact that outside of Rhode Island FC fans, they don't know we haven't been that great at Centerville Bank Stadium this season. I feel like that would forever be tainted with, oh yeah, of course you won the Jägermeister. You played every single game at Centerville Bank.
I mean, haters gonna hate. Like I said, we haven't been that great at home until very recently. So I don't. And if anything, if the tournament is set up in a way, if you do that well in the group stage, that you get the right to host, I don't know. I mean, it's knockout soccer, right? We don't have like a Wembley or some sort of place we can have neutral ground games. So at the end of the day, you're gonna have to host it at one of the one of the teams is gonna have to host it, right? You can't just pick a random ground and expect like Rhode Islanders and Sacramento fans to like fly to Colorado Springs to watch a game on a Wednesday. Like, it's just not going to happen.
It would be interesting to see. I mean, obviously this tournament is still continuing to evolve. Who knows what it'll look like in 2 to 3 years with Division 1 online. It would be interesting to see like what additional rules, like the best team records get the automatic home, like kind of the way that we do the championship playoffs today. The one rule I would want to impose immediately for next season is I would not want to see a team from my group stage at any point within the knockout rounds, unless that was the only viable path. Like, I would never want to see them in the quarterfinals as a random draw.
So basically like Hartford, right? In a sense of,
I'm not saying because Hartford's really hot right now. I'm saying it because like you've already seen them, right? Like, I don't want to see them again until there is no road but to go through them.
Yeah, you want that variety.
Exactly. Now, that being said, this game on September 10th puts it right in the middle of Louisville City at home, this game then at home, and then Indy 11 at home. We've been down this road before. Indy and Detroit always seem to be in the middle of our midweek matchups and situations. You're coming in against the team that's the hottest team in the league right now, at least not in current form, but in total season performance. Indy 11, I don't know where they're going. Their wheels seem to have kind of fallen off.
But they also do decently well usually against us.
I know, but do we see Coach Kano for this match kind of bring in, do the Indy 11 treatment and bring in the B squad for the Lou City game and have as many players rested and ready to go? Kano says he wants to win every game. So am I asking a silly question? Absolutely. But between those two, are we willing to potentially sacrifice 6 points to go after getting one step closer to that silverware?
It's interesting you say that, like, in regards to, Lou City is comfortably like the best team in this league.
Lou City fans, by the way, hate us now for some reason. I don't know why. It's like we beat them a bunch of times last year, but we didn't brag about it when we did it. But man, they hate us online.
I mean, they spanked us earlier this year. We didn't really look like we were gonna do much in that game. We tried to put some stuff together, but it just didn't work out. I mean, we're definitely doing better. I would almost wonder, like, you obviously say you want to play for every game to win, but like, do you just go into the game and try and get a draw, just get out of it alive? Then you focus on the midweek match, and then whatever happens in the 11, if you just need to rest people because you just won your ticket to the final. I mean, it's that delicate balance of, like, you want to make the playoffs, obviously, right? So there's not a lot of the season left. So you have to take these games like as big 6-pointers because these are both teams in our, conference. But also silverware's on the line. Like, I think you kind of, to a certain extent, have to put an asterisk next to that, and that needs to kind of be your main focus without taking away too much from the league.
Yeah, and again, we've talked at length. This cup may be harder and harder to go after in the years to come. So if you can get your hands on it now, you got to go for it. I will say, interestingly, that should the league get what they want in an El Clamico, whichever stadium it gets hosted at, it will be held in New England. And if it is an El Clamico, it will be very well attended because it will be a Saturday game at that point on October 4th. Interestingly enough for us, that game then would displace the Las Vegas Lights home match on Sunday, October 5th. if we have to move that game, though, there's not many weeks left in the season. Is there a position that you see kind of where we would want to have that game transition to a midweek? Because you're going to lose. Unfortunately, you would lose that weekend game, that bookmarked game, especially if Rhode Island FC has to travel away. That's kind of a bad thing from the optics of the financials, to lose a weekend game to then chase a now Wednesday game somewhere else. It's not great, because we already know how difficult it is to schedule these midweek matches, especially with short notice. Here's the schedule left. By the time that match happens, you can front load it, so ahead of the final, if we get that far. But I don't think Rhode Island would want to put a midweek game going into the silverware opportunity of winning a final. So in reality, then you'd have to back end it somewhere. And looking at the calendar, you could then sandwich it between the Jägermeister Cup final and Tampa Bay sometime around the 7th, I think. Is that right? 6th, 7th, the 8th of October. So you could have it after the Jägermeister, before Tampa Bay. You could then have it instead on the 11th between Tampa and North Carolina. Tampa's home, North Carolina's away, or New Mexico United's the final game. So that would be
But that one's on it. Got moved up to a Friday, so
Right.
I don't
So
think you
you
could
can't
do
do
that
that.
week.
Yeah, so it's almost like that game's just going to have to come 3 days later then, and then go. But I don't know with the Sunday match if there's something in Las Vegas to schedule. See, this is where things get really difficult in the future with Jägermeister. I think they need to lock that weekend out, and that's the USLPA break for everyone except for the players that are potentially winning something on hardware wise, because this gets tough. And then also too, I'm thinking through it, aren't there international breaks that come up in that period? Because there's the one that's towards the end of October, and then there's of course the one in November where we lost
The U20
Jay
World
last
Cup
year.
where Coquelin will be gone too.
It's going to be an exciting time. Listen, I'm excited either way. I can't wait to see Sacramento. Hopefully this is the redemption story we want it to be. Obviously, we didn't do well this season against them. They've been on a tear ever since, so it'll be curious to see. We got to move on. Let's get into these Eastern Conference standings and kind of get people caught up with the regular season.
Yeah, so looking back to the regular season here, RIFC are currently or still in 8th place, just holding on to that last playoff spot there in the East with a 5-6-9 record on 21 points. When we look at our opponents this weekend, Hartford Athletic, on the other hand, they've actually jumped RIFC. They've been on a red-hot tear there with their recent performances. Now sitting in 7th on 23 points with a 6-5-8 record.
So this game here has major consequences. Not only can we leap, but I feel like if Hartford wins this match outright, it kind of starts to widen the gap, where the back end of the table all fighting for maybe an 8th place spot while the rest of the table kind of runs away with it. So this game beyond the rivalry has some significant consequence on just standard point accumulation.
And yeah, just to catch everyone up real quick on the head-to-head here for RFC versus Hartford. Last year, RFC pretty handily had their number. Was it an away draw? Fair enough, but a very comfortable home win. Some alleged friendlies that RFC allegedly didn't lose, so they hadn't beat us. So I think we were kind of going into this year feeling very comfortable, thinking they're not a legit team yet, but something changed in them this year, and it's been a slightly different tale. The way the Jägermeister Cup rules go, you could argue that technically we still haven't lost to them, but that penalty shootout kind of left a sour taste in our mouth, and I think a lot of fans would look at that game and sure, technically it was a 2-2 draw, but it kind of felt like a loss, because for all intents and purposes, and almost to every other soccer league and tournament that I'm aware of, if you lose in penalties after a regulation time, that is a loss. So Jägermeister Cup's a new thing. It's so you get the point for the game, and then you can get an extra point if you win that cup there. So, and then we had the weekend before 0-0 draw. But yeah, Hartford is on fire. They're currently unbeaten in 6 games if you count those 2 matches against us in all competitions.
Yeah, red hot going into
actually 7, because I didn't know the score of last night's game when I wrote the stat here. So
yeah, I mean, when you look at this is a team you don't want to play. Currently in the hottest form within the championship. And it was looking like that was going to be a continuation coming into Saturday until Tom Bogert and then Blazing Musket later confirming that Minnesota United have reached out for a signing of Mamadou Dieng, the forward from Hartford Athletic, the man that has put wind beneath Brendan Burke's wings. Allegedly, TVM is reporting that the transfer fee is north of $300,000 for Dieng. This deal coming in on the last hours of the MLS transfer window, as that window closes tonight as of this recording at 11:59. Lots of conversations. The deal obviously has not, I don't think it's been officially announced as of this recording, but insiders have had conversations with me all day that he is already on his way to Minnesota United. This deal is done and it is happening. No loaning him back down, at least certainly not in time for this weekend for Hartford. The United is losing one of their players, selling a former USL player on themselves. So they very much see Dieng as someone who can help get them across the finish line for their season in that number 9 role and capacity. So, Jason, thoughts on the transfer overall? Couldn't come as a better time as a Rhode Island FC fan. Couldn't come as a worse time as a Hartford Athletic fan.
Yeah, you love to see it. They also apparently have a pretty decent sell-on clause. So really quickly, I'll say this in terms of, to be neutral for a second. This is great for the league, right?
Huge for the league.
This is what you want. You want to be able to, that's a lot of money right there. Throw a sell-in clause. If he turns out to be generational, you could see more money funnel its way back, especially to a team Hartford financially seems to be struggling a little bit, right? They half of their staff is like interns, right? So this is great for the league. Also, as an RIFC fan, this is great for us. He has been on a tear. I was looking into some stats. When he scores, they do not lose. So, like, one of my talking points going into this match was like,
real fast. Here's the stat: 9 goals, 2 assists so far in the championship this season. When he has scored, they are unbeaten with 6 wins and a draw.
I think that's now 7 because of last night.
And get this, they haven't strung together. This is how transformational Dieng has been for this club. They haven't strung together a 3-game win streak since September of 2022. Like, we knew they were bad, but we didn't realize how bad. So finally, this team gets put on a just terminal velocity, just explosion of form. Finally, they're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. They're going to make the playoffs for the first time, I think, since 2019. They've only made it once in their entire history as an organization. Everything is going right. And then this call comes in. If you're Brendan Burke, and you probably hit snooze on that Minnesota United call several times. You just until finally someone shows up with a briefcase full of money. If you're Brendan Burke right now, what are you feeling? What are you thinking? Because obviously you want your players to succeed. You want them to grow. You want them to get that next contract. But man, this just feels like it's like when you're riding the bike and you throw the stick in between your own bicycle wheels.
Yeah, it's probably got to be rough for him. I know that they have a lot of decent other like attacking threats. I just don't know if any of them can be as transformational as he was for that team. Sitting in 7th, do they think that they picked up enough points that they can scrounge off? Like, obviously, maybe their form will continue. Who knows? But
well, and here's the thing, right? Like, you look at just beyond the Dieng element of this, right? Like, is it true that he carried most of the momentum for the month of August and late July? Absolutely, but he wasn't the only person on this squad who's been changing
Edwards,
the
like they're
big credit. Mishi and Galina getting back from injury has been another set of the spark behind this team. He's now contributed to a goal contribution in his last 3 matches. Like, he's been part of unlocking that offense. We've talked last time we covered the team how Samadia and Anderson on the wings have been one of the best wing duos in the entirety of the championship. So it's not like there isn't talent out there. I think the real question now becomes, can Kyle Edwards get the job done? He's been lethal as an impact sub, right? Like, he has more goals singularly than any other Rhode Island FC player in our squad. And that's from always a majority of coming off the bench. I was talking to Oliver from the Blazing Musket. I think he's only had 3 like more than 75-minute performances this season. He just doesn't have the legs. He's not a player that can go the distance in that regard. So he's been lethal in how Burke's been utilizing him. But having said that, even with Dieng out, whether it's Edwards, what's the other player they have? Is it Berkshire or whatever, or Beckford? Excuse me. The difference between I think Hartford and Rhode Island FC right now is there's variety. No one player is the danger. There's a lot of danger in this attack, and so you don't have to rely on one individual. However, you take a player like Dieng off the pitch, suddenly do they look as dangerous, right? Is this form going to continue? And I think this weekend's match is going to put a magnifying glass on, is this still going to be the real deal for a team, or did they just kneecap themselves?
Yeah, and absolutely. I still think this is going to be a tough test for RIFC, but I'm going into this now with a little more confidence. Instead, like, I'm not going to lie, before I was like, I don't think we're going to win this match. Like, I think a good result for us would have been a draw. At this point, it's still going to be tough. I could very well see it be a draw. But I also think that, like, with the recent form that RIFC has been building up, maybe there's a possibility that they could sneak out a win, and that, as great as some of their other players, it was really Dieng carrying them on their back. That being said, there's a connection here. Minnesota United, our best friends who loan us and sell us players, did us a solid.
I didn't see it till just now.
Yeah.
Of course, Minnesota is our
I made it
allies
up
to the north. I love it. Breaking news.
They knew it was happening. They're like, let's help out our friends.
Do you think Brett Johnson then actually bought that player?
He just called them and was like, I don't even know who the owner of Minnesota United is. Just like, hey man, help me out here.
Buy this player here. No, not even
we'll
help me out.
continue to like
here's the
loan
money,
and
I can't have this traced back to me. Put this as a donation to rebuilding one of your stands or whatever. Improve your popcorn game. Get the pretzels online, but please buy this player. And it needs to happen before the transfer window closes.
It was collusion between RIFC and Minnesota United.
Minnesota United might be my second favorite MLS team now of all time.
You heard it here first. Source, I made it up. I mean, when we kind of look at this like match coming up here, what a better way to go into El Clamico here,
for us.
For us, definitely. But it's equally that we talk about their defense, right? Siaha has he's been pretty good for them. Multiple clean sheets, stringing together over 300 minutes without a goal before an away draw to Tulsa, who, to their credit, who saw Tulsa being good this year? Probably ready? John Morrissey, but
who's ready for a USL championship final on a baseball field? That's the real question.
Only the real sickos. But so at this point, can they maintain this momentum? I think like we just mentioned here, I think it's going to be a big test for them to see how can they keep that momentum together and move forward as a team, and not like let Dieng be the only thing on that team that mattered.
If you're a fan of Hartford Athletic right now, are you rioting, or are you like just doing that like quietly golf clapping cry and like I get it, I hate it, but I get it?
Probably
I'd be ripping chairs. I'd be ripping chairs out of the stands. All right, who are the refs for this match?
All right, looking up to this next match here. Head ref is Elvis Osmanovic. The assistant refs here are going to be Jeremy Smith and Joseph Knopf, with the fourth official being Brian Canetta.
Okay, listen, I did the research on Elvis. I feel like I did not get good info, because I feel like we've seen him more than just 2 times. That's a name. That's such a unique name. That is, of course, it's no Joshua Encarnacion, but I feel like we've had him more than just 2 matches. But surprisingly, the only 2 other matches he's overseen for us have been both of our Tampa Bay games, where one team or the other scored by a bunch. So he oversaw our 3-1 victory earlier this year, and then he was at the helm of our 4-1 loss in our 3rd ever game in club history.
That's weird, because I honestly would have said the same thing when I saw that name. I was like, oh, I recognize that name. We've probably had him like 4 or 5 times.
I feel like we haven't. Like the stats just for referees just aren't as well kept without like going in and seeing each one there. In terms of injury report, so we've got. I didn't update the slide, but we have Grant Stoneman again. He's getting closer and closer. I wouldn't be surprised if we see him as a substitute. Although ironically, we usually only have one center back on the rotation. Like I don't think he's strong enough yet to get a start. But with Zach Haribo now kind of being able to play in both channels, maybe Stoneman doesn't really get back into this squad until he's at match fitness levels. So we could see him, we couldn't. Nadarce is still probably a week or two out. And then Cole Dewhurst, Centerville Bank Stadium claims another one. Cole Dewhurst surprisingly on the availability report last week. Don't know if he's injured.
He got swallowed up by the Seekonk River.
I'm assuming it's an injury because, again, we've always been told that's not an injury report, that's an availability report. But like Dewhurst is very rarely ever going to be a bench player, let alone a starter. So if you're going to list him, my guess is that there's some sort of knock or injury there, but we'll have to wait and see.
Or it's mind games when he starts this weekend.
They'll never see it coming. Jason, walk us through our guaranteed formation predictions, guaranteed to be wrong.
Yeah. So this is what we're going to go with here. Koke Vegas and net. Back three there of Ugo Baccarat, Karifa Yao, and Amema Bika. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. No goals yet. We're going to see Clay Holstad in that right wing back position as he got mostly rested here on the Wednesday with Matthew Corcoran and Mark Ibarra there holding down the midfield with Aldair Sanchez out on the left there with his newly dyed blonde hair. We're thinking potentially Noah Fuson as he also got rested back up into that front three with JJ Williams and one Busy or Dwayne Atkinson getting his first start here after making a bit of another kind of 30-minute camo appearance there. But we also know he's been with the team long enough in regards to fitness that he could start a full game.
Yeah, I think you just look at the players that went longer than 65, mixing up the strike force up front. Quizera can come on as an impact sub. Maxi as well. I mean, Maxi ran his butt off on the last match. And then again, with that interchangeability, I think this mostly feels right. You could argue Haribo could get into the start somewhere. I think Joe, he's going to be the substitute that can. I mean, we know what Joe can do substituting on specifically against Hartford, and he'll be going home to Connecticut to have some fun with it. So I feel, minus maybe the guess on Busy, I feel like this may be the closest we've ever been to a accurate formation and roster selection. But now that we've said that, Kano is going to throw it all off.
He's watching and he's like laughing at us. He's like,
Kevin Vang is now lock-on starter. You're welcome. You're welcome to the Vang apologists out there. Meanwhile, for Hartford Athletic side, they're set up in kind of a 3-4-2-1, a 3-4-3, depending on how you want to look at it. Some difference here now because of the movements of this week in terms of Dieng. But of course, you're going to have the one and only Anthony Siaha, public enemy number one. Move aside, Paul Blanchett. We have a new keeper to hate in this world. His back three supporting him will be TJ Prethis, Joe Farrell, and Jordan Scarlett. In that midfield four, you're going to have Sebastian Anderson, Bev Makangala. I've got this down right now as Marlon Hairston. He did get a goal on the last night against the Jägermeister's Cup performances. I don't know if you could easily interchange him with Jonathan Jimenez. Like they're kind of in that same duality there. And then Emmanuel Samadia, he'll be on that left wing. These are the three players that you're going to want to definitely keep a close eye on. Samuel Carriega, going to be somewhere in that right midfield side, kind of more not really a winger, but tucked in, kind of being a chance creator. At this point, I think Kyle Edwards is absolutely going to have to step up and suit up for that start. Again, he can't really go 90, but I just don't see him. I don't see them not selecting him as the forward option. And then all eyes will be on Michi and Galina, who, again, has just been a dynamic creator. So between Carriega and Galina, like that's where a lot of that chance creation with those wings coming together, overlapping and creating opportunities. But there are two players, Jason, that are on the bench that could be differentiations, X factors, if you will. Junior Moreira, he's been really starting to get hot. He's only had about 8 starts so far this season, but kind of coming into form, really more of a defensive player, not really known for his attacking. He wins a lot of his aerial duels. So I see him being kind of a difference maker, especially if Hartford can go up and get a lead. Like he would definitely be a player that could play some sizable minutes to hold on and protect that league. And then we got to say it, Jack Panayotou has now been on the bench, I think, for 2 consecutive matches, has not yet seen the pitch, but he's raring to go. And honestly, as an audible, I wouldn't be surprised if Brendan Burke says, you know what, Panayiotou, you're my guy tonight. I want you to channel that first Jägermeister Cup match. I want you to get 2 goals and a red card and show Rhode Island why they lost you.
I wouldn't be surprised, but at the same time, I did go back and do some research, and like weirdly, he's really fallen out of favor with them. And like there are actually a few games where he wasn't even on the bench.
Well, he's been injured, and then he re-aggravated an injury, so that's been part of it. It's been mostly due to injury, but then also, maybe they don't like a kid from, what is he from Harvard? No, he's from where is he from? He's from somewhere in Boston.
Cambridge or something?
That's right. So like maybe they're just like, yeah, you're too good for us down here. So maybe it's a personal vendetta. Want to talk about, beyond the fact that this is a rivalry game, how important is this game for Rhode Island FC to build momentum on coming out of the Jägermeister Cup? Because I'll tell you, Jason, we have not yet won a game immediately following a Jägermeister Cup performance. We keep talking about how these games where we've been unbeaten are supposed to sustain us, fuel us, build this momentum. We've only had draws or losses coming directly after a Jägermeister.
Yeah, it's one of those cursed stats. But then also, like we had earlier in the season, we had a midweek game and a weekend game where we saw success on both. Right, there was the midweek I can't remember which one. It was Tampa and Birmingham. We played both of them in a row, and we got 2 wins in a row. Right, one was a Wednesday, one was a Saturday. So it's possible for this team to string together some wins there in short succession. Some of the players have even come out and said that they prefer not having as much training, just go home, rest, recover, quick training session, maybe short, just then move on to the next game. But at this point, the season's running out. This is a league game. The next 2 opponents being the 2 best,
easiest opponents we'd ever have. Charleston and Louisville.
Charleston and Louisville. No big deal. We beat them last year, right? It's fine.
Well, didn't Loudon do it earlier this year? And we drew Loudon, so therefore vis-a-vis.
Yeah, we haven't even played them this year, right? They didn't spank us. But like this is a big opportunity for us to. It's a big 6-pointer, right? They are ahead of us right now. A win could take us in front of them, and points are starting to run out. If RIFC want to sneak into the playoffs somewhere between that 6th to 8th position, they're going to need to start picking up points.
I also look at it too from RIFC's perspective. They allowed, some would argue that Hartford earned their way into the Jägermeister here, but in a lot of ways, if they had won in penalties, Hartford would not be here, right? So to some circumstance, they've manufactured their own problems, and the fact that Hartford now is red hot. We'll see this weekend if they maintain it, but now also running into a collision course at the end of the road with us in a Jägermeister Cup final. It would be a good, we talk about redemption with Sacramento in the Jägermeister, but it would also be a good redemption to go and actually get a win and not let all 3 of these games go as draws. Like we need to see some bravery here.
Draw Kings was last year.
But like it's also what fuels the fans, right? Like sometimes it's like we need to see this, and when it can be done where it's a thorough beat down of multiple goals, clean sheets are even better. But just like seeing this team start to pick up the pieces and make a run towards something bigger than just playing for the next game. To your point, if we drop points here, not wanting to shoehorn us into probable losses against Charleston and Louisville, but that could create a 9-point gap in the table for us, where we could be suddenly in like 10th or 11th. We could suddenly go really, because these are all Eastern Conference teams too, right? So it's challenging to know that this could be one of the most difficult weeks ahead. You want to start this series of games with a win against Hartford beyond just the rivalry, right? Like this is an important Eastern Conference match. It has significant bearing on the table standings. So add all of that and then sprinkle in some El Clamico. It's a big deal. It's a very big deal.
Yeah. I think if this team has any aspirations to make it into the playoffs, and not just like make it into there and get knocked out immediately in the first round, but really give it a go and show the rest of the league what this team is made of and kind of channel some of last year, they need to start off this weekend with a win.
Agreed. Final question. Do we think Siaha is going to behave, or if he's in his own home element, is he going to be even more ridiculous?
Absolutely not.
Wouldn't have it any other way. I will tell fans that are going to the game in person, if Hartford is able to score a goal, get your phones out and immediately start filming Siaha. He does some stupid stuff. He acts like a clown when they score goals. So I couldn't catch it last time because I was too busy trying to sort through things, but I'll absolutely have my phone connected to him as goals might or might not get scored from Hartford's side. Jason, how does RIFC win this match?
I mean, I was going to say stop Dieng, but we already took care of that by,
Kano's a genius.
Phone called Minnesota United like he can buy these guys. So at this point, though, now we're going to have to kind of, Michi and Galina take down Edwards, Carriega. Like, this is still a tough team, and they are a very physical team. And these derby matches kind of take it to that next level, right? They're going to give it 110%. We've seen very strong defensive performances from our side recently. So that needs to continue. We need to kind of control that back line there. Don't let them get into the game too much there. I think RFC is going to need to have cool heads here too, right? We don't need people picking up extra yellows, more than the norm. Obviously, we don't need anyone being sent off. And sounds crazy, but like maybe we should just score a goal. This busy guy, he's pretty good. What if we got him the ball? Let's see what he can do.
I will say that I think much like this game, this Wednesday against Birmingham, where people want to see multiple goal scoring opportunities in games. I think this game for Kano, I think he actually kind of just has to repeat what he did against Birmingham, not in the tactics necessarily, but in the defensive strategy of. I think for Rhode Island FC, as crazy as this sounds, you need to prioritize defense. There's so much attacking threat from the wings and these combinations of players that have been doing very well that I think if you focus first and foremost on
build
defense,
from the back, right? As much as I want to see more goals at this point, it's too late to like throw everything into the trash and start over again. We need to continue to focus on the back and trust that the forward players are going to start to click and that things will fall into place.
Yeah, because even if like at the end of the day you do get a 0-0 draw, I don't think it's great for the derby. I don't think it's great for the fans. But right now, 1 point is more important than anything.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I will tell you, Hartford has a pattern here. If they go into the first half, if they go into the second half, I should say, with a lead, they normally win their matches outright. Whereas Hartford has been compromised more than any other team this season, with the exception of Phoenix and El Paso, in late goals. So within the last 15 minutes of the second half, they just kind of start to wear down. It's like Brendan Burke's just running them into the ground. So like, I don't want to say rope or dope and like just hold on, weather the storm. But I will say that if Rhode Island can keep it clean, they have a much better chance of going after it and trying to get something in the final minutes of the game. That being said, also, Rhode Island notoriously does well when they score first. So either get the go-ahead goal from the beginning, or weather the storm and just kind of try to get scrappy towards the end. Points matter right now. And then also just the pride of, you don't want to lose to Hartford, right? So for myself, I've got this as a 1-0 win. We need the win, and clean sheets are great, so I want to see it. My heart says this is going to be a 1-1 draw. As we drive down to the game this weekend, if we stop at a certain casino and make a bet, I'm probably going to put down a 1-1 draw. I only do this every once in a while, so like this could be fun. But if we don't do that, like I gotta advocate for the 1-0 win, but my heart says it's a 1-1 draw.
I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna say, hey, Dieng's gone. We're gonna win. It's similar. Like I feel like draw is probably more the safer bet, but I'm gonna say 2-1. I'll say that because it's fiery and like we're not gonna keep clean sheets forever. As we score first half. Sometime they either respond immediately or get 1 second half, and then like you'd said, they kind of struggle to close out games, so then maybe kind of later on second half pick up one, and I don't like a 2-1 win. And
also with FOTMob and SofaScore saying only 5% of people think it'll be a draw, that's the best betting odds, whether you like to bet or not. Like when it's that low,
I mean, this is all pre-Dieng voting too here.
True, yeah, 52% thinking Hartford to win pre-Dieng versus 43%. So this is as evenly built as it possibly can. Hey, listen, action is going to kick off for this match starting at 7 p.m. at Trinity Health Stadium. It should be a beautiful night, despite the fact that you have to go all the way to Hartford to experience it. But Rhode Island FC is going to be hosting a tailgate party for traveling fans in Lot 8, so get there early. You do have to pay a little something beforehand. There's a discount if you go through you prepay versus when you show up and pay there. If for some reason you're not coming to this match and you can't attend in person, all of the action will be on Nessun ESPN Plus, and of course 790 The Score. FYI for next week, we do have Rio Hope Gunn joining the podcast on Monday, so no mailbag before we preview the Charleston Battery returning to town a little later in the week. Jason, what's the final word?
Yeah, we'll also have to figure out when we're going to schedule or record our Thursday show, because I'm actually going to be out of town. Unfortunately, I will be missing that Charleston match.
They don't know that.
Yeah, but
they don't know how often we record these things.
Well,
on
they'll know
Monday
when
nights.
they're like, they show up to the game and they're like, "Where's Jason?" And I'm just not there. Meeting up with family. So yeah, I'm looking forward to making the trip over to Hartford. I mean, Hartford itself, not so great, but the trip itself, especially among friends, always a great time. Looking forward to seeing all of you there. Including RFC, and that's at theblazingmusket.com. You can follow us on Twitter, Threads, TikTok, and Blue Sky at RIFC Podcast. We also have an Instagram at Raising Anchor, and then there's that website, raisinganchorpodcast.com. Anchors up, y'all.
Anchors up. Let's beat Shartford.
Let's beat Hartford.